I am pleased to welcome to the 2025 edition of Statehouse Conversations, Democratic Representative Earl Harris of East Chicago, District 2, in the best part of the state, as he refers to it. Thanks for taking time. You've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
What is going to be your big push and heave this session?
You know, we are putting a lot of attention on healthcare. We have a lot of healthcare needs. One of them, which I'm focusing on with legislation I authored, is the fact that we need more physicians in Indiana. Something I learned, I knew was an issue, but learned recently it's a bigger issue than I thought. We have 92 counties in Indiana. Half of them don't have OBGYNs. When you look at our maternal health issues, that's a big part of that. So I filed a bill that, in the short version, provides loan repayment. So people come out of medical school owing about $205,000. So it's a $200,000 payoff. You commit to staying in Indiana for 10 years. At the end of that 10 years, you will receive that $200,000. It breaks the state up into thirds, so 7 northern, 7 central, 7 southern, to bring in physicians, to bring in OBGYNs, so that we can make sure that mothers are safe and babies are safe when they go through.
Because we do have some help, I guess they're called healthcare deserts, right?
Yeah,
Large, and it's a countrywide, nationwide problem. And we do have, I believe, I'm not misstating this, the largest enrollment medical school in the country with Indiana University.
Correct.
So it's a matter of just making sure
we have the ability
get the lasso out to keep them here.
Exactly.
Right?
And then you have parts of, we also have areas that don't have primary doctors. That's another issue. So if you have to drive a long time, you're getting into really causing more healthcare issues. So the bill will pay that off. Again, it's a 10-year commitment. It is prorated because we understand life happens. So sometimes you may move for another position, or your spouse gets one, or you have to move to take care of a family member. So say if you only have stayed 5 years, you will have made $100,000 to go into your loan. So looking at that in terms of keeping more doctors, physicians in Indiana and drawing other ones to us. Because again, healthcare is going to be a big issue and something we know we're going to talk a lot about this session.
And interestingly, Medicare costs, that's something that everybody's talked about. And part of that is because I read that some of us Hoosiers aren't the healthiest. I say that as I suck my gut in. And this is, I guess, getting to that notion of giving Hoosiers access to preventive health care so they can ideally be healthier down the road.
If we do more things on the preventative side, it's better obviously for us health-wise, but it also is better for our pocketbooks as individuals and as a state in terms of having to pay less for health care down the line.
And I know you had some other priorities that you're focused on this session?
Something I'm focused on that's a Northwest Indiana focus is, if you look at things that we've done here as a legislature over the last few years, we've done a lot of growth in Indiana. I walked into this focusing on tourism. So some things we've done in Northwest Indiana that focus on that is, obviously we've done some things with the casinos. We have, East Chicago has Ameristar, Hammond has Horseshoe. Through legislation, we have now Hard Rock and Gary, which is on 8094. That's been big. We have a bill that now Mayor of Gary, former Senator Eddie Melton authored, that's bringing a convention center to Northwest Indiana. So hopefully that'll get locked into details this year. And then one of the other things that I'm looking at is a sports stadium in Northwest Indiana. So I have a bill that brings together mayors, county council people, all kind of people from Northwest Indiana, form a group and really put an effort into seeing, is this viable and how do we get sports teams here? I will tell you, I did file the bill last year, and I have to give credit where credit's due. This was actually something my father was working on before he passed away.
You're a second generation, one of those second generation lawmakers we've talked about.
And so it looks at bringing a sports stadium to Northwest Indiana. We know that the Bears were kind of looking, the White Sox had some reach out from people and did a lot of interviews. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And I know one of the things people say is, well, does the team have to be named the East Chicago this or the Gary that? We have sports teams that play in one location and are something else. A lot of the New York teams, I believe the Giants and the Jets, which are New York, actually play in New Jersey.
That's right.
So you don't necessarily have to be in the city or in the state you're named after, but we see Northwest Indiana as a growing viable option for sports, for entertainment, for tourism. Being close to Chicago helps, but everything is less on this side of the state line.
Just a short rail line right away, right?
Speaking of other things
we did. And why tear up Soldier Field? It's such a nice stadium. Save the money, don't mess up the parking lot south of Soldier Field, and the Bears can move right down the road.
Well, they can move down the road over to Indiana.
No, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Why mess up that parking lot that's here now?
Yeah.
What else? I don't want to cut you short. Any other biggies this session?
Just focused on what we need to do. Obviously, we talked about healthcare. We're looking at things with property taxes, looking at things with home ownership. I have a bill that's focused on slowing down and really reducing the fact that you have these big corporate investors that are coming in buying houses, and it's causing a lot of financial problems for people that are already here. And so it is a sell-off, so they have to sell off over a 10-year process what they own. There are some funding penalty things in there, which won't cost people anything, but for those companies, if they don't do what they're supposed to do, those funds then go into an account that is there for people who are first-time buyers, for purchasers of houses that can apply for that for their down payment. Because we have a situation, and it's happening here in Indiana as well as other parts of the country, where these big investors are coming in, they're offering you, hey, I'm going to buy your house, I'm going to give you $20,000 over what you're asking because they have cash and they can. The rest of us have to get mortgage. It's unfair. If you take that offer, you walk away, that competition is not fair for the rest of us. It also brings up the price of neighborhoods, which then impacts the other people that have been living there. And one of the things that I think is sad is if you have a senior couple, or if only one of them is still surviving, they've lived in a house for 40 years, the house is paid for, but because of part of their neighborhood has gone up because of what's happening with the investors, they now can't afford to stay there for property taxes, which are already an issue. So doing some things to make sure that people that have been in their houses can stay and that first-time home buyers can buy it, because we know that home ownership is part of the American dream and it's also part of generational wealth.
Well said. You have a lot to chew on this session. We'll be watching those bills over the next 4 months, and I appreciate Earl Harris, Representative Democrat from East Chicago. Thanks for taking time to talk about some of your priorities this session, and I thank you for your commitment to the state of Indiana and to public service. Much appreciated.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.